In His Shadow, Chapter 17, by meniekeime. Pictures and Dumble Duck. Draco's point of view. I was sitting in the big hall, Neville next to me. He was silently chatting with Luna, who was sitting in Pansy's lap, showing off her mating mark. Pansy had not waited long before mating, and Luna didn't seem to mind, cuddling into her alpha when the owls came flying to the hall. I recognized a certain white owl that was a second away from landing in my plate. I grabbed the swollen letter from her leg, giving her a piece of bacon, and Neville began to pat the owl. I opened Harry's letter and began to read through it. It was pleasing to find that Harry found a sport he liked. My little Harry, my cheerleader. That sounds great. There were pictures of him and his new friends. He seemed to have a lot of fun with a boy called Alec. And I dare to say I was jealous until I found out who he was and that he was an Omega, too. I had to hide the photo of Harry and his cheer group. Those leggings in combination with that body should be illegal. Nobody was allowed to see him like this besides me. And by far, the best picture was the last one. Harry was sitting in the room in his school uniform, the giant bear I sent him behind him. He smiled so wide into the camera and then wrapped the bear's arms around himself. And the bear was wearing one of my old sweaters. I had to rearrange myself so the others wouldn't find out how turned on I was by the innocent pictures. Harry had also sent me one half of a snitch that he had the other half. It would fly when the two pieces were put together. I put it around my neck, thinking about what I should gift him next. Maybe a luxurious muscle oil or a nice bunch of bath bombs. Neville, does Harry like to bathe? I asked him absent-mindedly. Who's this so-called Harry? I heard a voice behind me. Shit. Dumbledore, I don't think my private life is your concern. I told him, closing my letter quickly. I'm sorry, Mr. Malfoy, but you can be assured that it's not my intention to spy on you, the headmaster said in his grandfatherly voice. Not spy on me, my ass. I came here to inform you that Omegas are not to sit on the bench. You, as a pureblood, should know that. And since when is my Omega your concern? Since you haven't mated him until now, he is not your Omega. I stood up to be at the same height as him. Professor Dumbledore, the private life of your students is not your concern. I decide when I mate. I decide if Neville sits on the bench or not. You be sure that if this happens again, not only will my father hear about this, but the ministry too. Dumbfounded, he left me alone again, so I could eat my breakfast alone. Neville seemed uncomfortable, and I could not tell if it was because Dumbledore or something else. Suddenly, he gave Luna a short hand signal, and she nodded, getting out a little file, giving it to him. I grabbed his arm, feeling how hot he was, and it dawned on me. Neville, go back to our room. You're not going to school today. If anyone asks, just lie. And I'm not making him go to school in heat. Harry told me how horrible it was, and as long as his mate was not here to help him, it was better if he wasn't around people. Goyle, you got a room for me? I asked my beta friend. Yeah, but I think I'll have to stay in Blazer's room. Vince is going to have a hard time. We have to punish him in a really special way. Don't need details, Greg. Luna is too innocent for your dirty talk. Pansy threw in, rolling her eyes. Who mated her the second they had a chance to? I asked her before she could respond. Luna had stuffed her with another spoonful of eggs. You need to eat, Pansy, she said, grabbing another spoon. The alpha calmed down immediately, nodding at her and pulling her Omega closer. You're right. I need to protect my Omega from these assholes I call friends. I gave her a fake hurt look. Let's stop this and come back to a more serious matter. Blaze threw in. Petting Vince, I nodded, looking at him. What can we do against Dumbledore? I can't stand it how he cheats omegas. Next year my little sister will be going to school, and I don't want her to be raped and hurt in this place of safety. And I'm sure that's not all of the omegas all willingly made it, especially not the Gryffindors, he whispered, causing Luna to shiver and flee into Pansy's arms. I gave them another nod. You're right. I'm sure if we don't do anything, no one will. Dumbledore is more focused on enforcing rules on innocent students than on winning the war. What would you suggest to do? End of chapter 17.